You're listening to Uranium Spotlight on Tuesday, February 4th, 2025. Brought to you by Purepoint Uranium Group, your exploration partner in the most prolific areas of Canada's Athabasca Basin. With a collaborative investment model on district-scale projects and validation from industry leaders Cameco, Orano, and ISO Energy, Purepoint is investing in Canada's uranium future. And now your host, Chris Frostad.
This week on Uranium Spotlight, uranium prices react to tariff uncertainty. India plans a large nuclear expansion. Uranium is back on the USA's critical minerals list, and NexGen expands their drill program at Patterson East. The uranium spot price closed last week at $70.50 a pound, down $3 from the previous week's $73.50 a pound. January spot market activity was a mix of forward planning and immediate demand. Early in the month, buyers were focused on securing uranium for late 2024 and 2025, but as the month progressed, interest shifted to near-term deliveries, lending to an increase in transactions. By the end of January, 42 deals had been recorded, totaling about 4.5 million pounds of U3O8 equivalent. The majority, 3.1 million pounds, was for prompt delivery within 3 months. Last Monday, the market saw a flurry of activities as UxC posted its month-end indicators. 10 spot transactions were completed before the afternoon cutoff, with sellers initially lowering prices before buyers stepped in to hit available offers. On Tuesday, an additional 3 transactions drove the daily price up by $2.10 to $69.40 a pound. By midweek, activity slowed, with only a single trade on Thursday and 4 on Friday. These Friday deals were influenced by anticipation of U.S. import tariffs, which were officially announced over the weekend. The impact of these tariffs on uranium imports, particularly from Canada and China, remains uncertain, leaving buyers and sellers hesitant to act at the start of this week. On the term market side, January saw 16 new utility contracts awarded, mostly for U3O8, with additional midterm non-utility purchases recorded. While no new formal term requests emerged last week, discussions for mid- and long-term supply continue, and we expect more utilities to enter the market in the coming months. For now, all eyes are on the evolving tariff situation and its potential impact on pricing and supply dynamics. India has just announced a game-changing policy shift. It plans to open its nuclear power sector to private investment as soon as possible. Until now, only the state-run Nuclear Power Corporation of India Limited, or NPCIL, could build and operate nuclear plants. But this move clears the way for major Indian infrastructure giants like Tata Group, one of the world's largest companies by market capitalization, to enter the industry. International players such as EDF, Westinghouse, and others could also expand their involvement in India's nuclear sector. With this policy shift, India has set an ambitious goal, installing 100 gigawatts of nuclear capacity. That's roughly the equivalent of 100 Westinghouse AP1000 reactors. Each of these reactors requires about 441,000 pounds of uranium annually, meaning this expansion alone could create an additional 44 million pounds of uranium demand per year. For perspective, the entire global nuclear fleet currently consumes just under 150 million pounds of uranium annually, and this is only part of the picture. China has already committed to building 150 new reactors over the next 15 years, which will add another 66 million pounds of annual demand. Together, these two nations alone will require an additional 110 million pounds of uranium per year, a staggering increase. The problem? The uranium sector is already struggling to meet existing demand. Current mine production falls short by about 30%, forcing utilities to draw from stockpiles. But those stockpiles are shrinking fast. Looking ahead, we're facing a scenario where global uranium demand could increase by 50 to 75%, yet ramping up supply isn't easy. Even when uranium deposits are well documented, it typically takes 15 years or more to bring a new mine online. On top of that, geopolitical risks are mounting. Key uranium-producing nations like Kazakhstan and Niger face ongoing instability. And despite Australia holding the world's largest uranium reserves, mining remains banned in 6 of its 8 states. So if supply is already tight and China's demand is surging, where exactly is India, a country with minimal domestic uranium reserves, going to find the fuel to power 100 new reactors? One of President Trump's first executive actions upon returning to office in January was to direct the Secretary of the Interior to consider recommending that the U.S. Geological Survey restore uranium to the U.S. critical minerals list. This move comes after the Biden administration removed a category of so-called fuel minerals from the list, a classification that included uranium. Because of this designation, uranium was excluded despite its essential role in energy security. Being on the critical minerals list grants minerals access to specific government subsidies and regulatory incentives designed to encourage domestic mining and processing. While uranium isn't currently on the list, its importance to U.S. energy policy remains undeniable. It is a key component in efforts to expand electricity generation across multiple sectors, particularly as the country looks to diversify its energy sources. Unlike the previous administration, the Trump White House may not prioritize phasing out fossil fuels. However, there is a clear interest in advancing uranium's role in the U.S. energy mix, reinforcing nuclear power's position in the nation's long-term energy strategy. Australia is taking its first steps towards nuclear power. At least that's the goal of opposition leader Peter Dutton. As part of a nationwide tour, nuclear energy advocates are visiting towns that could host power plants under Dutton's proposal, aiming to power public support for overturning the country's long-standing nuclear ban. Among the voices leading the charge is nuclear engineer and energy advocate Grace Stanke, a former Miss America and a Forbes 30 Under 30 honoree. At the tour's first stop in Collie, reactions were mixed. While many locals remained skeptical, others, like Stacey Love and her daughter Grace Michael, made the 60-kilometer trip to hear Stanke speak. Love noted her daughter's strong interest in nuclear engineering, while Michael acknowledged the technology's growing importance in the global energy landscape. If Dutton succeeds in lifting bans on nuclear mining in 6 of Australia's 8 states, as well as overturning the federal prohibition on nuclear energy, the country could play a much larger role in the uranium supply chain. Increased domestic production could help soften the looming supply crunch that many market analysts have warned about. However, Australia also holds vast reserves of coal and natural gas, meaning there is little immediate economic pressure to transition away from fossil fuels, aside from mounting environmental concerns. The devastating Black Summer bushfires of 2019 and 2020, which led to over 400 deaths from smoke inhalation and other causes, serve as a stark reminder of climate change's impact. Still, nuclear energy faces an uphill battle in Australia, where past disasters like Fukushima, Chernobyl, and 3 Mile Island have cemented public fears about its safety. This is where figures like Stanke can be instrumental, helping Australians understand that statistically nuclear power is far safer than coal, oil, or gas. For uranium investors, another key consideration is whether Australia, if it ramps up its nuclear program, will choose to retain more of its uranium for domestic use. While Dutton's plans could mean more uranium flowing into global markets, they could just as easily lead to a spike in domestic demand, tightening supply elsewhere. One thing is for certain: if nuclear power gains a foothold in Australia, the uranium market will feel the impact, both in production and consumption. NexGen Energy is taking an aggressive step forward in expanding its Patterson Corridor East discovery, launching a massive 43,000-meter drill program, one of the largest in the Athabasca Basin for 2025. This marks a 9,000-meter increase from last year's campaign, underscoring the company's confidence in this emerging uranium system just 3.5 kilometers east of the world-class Arrow deposit. Early drilling results at PCE have been compelling, with uranium mineralization found in the competent basement rock, similar to what's seen at Arrow. Since its discovery, the mineralized footprint at PCE has grown rapidly, now extending 600 meters along strike and reaching a depth of 600 meters. NexGen's 2025 focus is on expanding that footprint, pinpointing high-grade zones, and refining additional drill targets using geophysics. And this growing trend isn't just confined to NexGen's ground. The northern extension of the same Patterson East conductor runs for approximately 1 kilometer into Hook Lake, where it is now a key focus for Cameco, Orano, and Purepoint's joint venture. With the success NexGen is seeing, Hook Lake's upcoming work could add even more excitement to the region. NexGen remains well-funded for its aggressive drilling and ongoing development of the Rook I project, backed by over $800 million in cash and liquid assets. As demand for uranium continues to surge, these systematic exploration programs are positioning Saskatchewan's Athabasca Basin as a cornerstone of future supply. And that wraps up your Uranium Spotlight coverage for this week. For more news and events from the world of uranium, please tune in next week to Uranium Spotlight.
You've been listening to Uranium Spotlight, your weekly podcast dedicated to delivering the latest news and events shaping the uranium fuel market and its critical role in the global energy landscape. Brought to you by Purepoint Uranium Group. Purepoint actively operates a portfolio of advanced uranium projects in the world's richest uranium district and has established partnerships with industry leaders. While our passion for this subject is undeniable, it's essential to clarify that the information presented here is not investment advice. Instead, our goal is to offer an unbiased and comprehensive review of recent events that could impact uranium prices. Join us again next Tuesday for Uranium Spotlight.